Everyone, and welcome back to round 5 of the Sydney Regionals. I've still got Kevin with me. Now, Kevin, what's your favourite deck at the moment?
Blue Yellow Nami.
All right, what's your second favourite deck?
Lucci.
There we go. That's the answer I was
let's go.
looking for. All right, let's get into this round where we still have a undefeated Lucci. Round 5, they are 4-0.
Yeah, Beiji.
All right, so we have these players here ready to start round 5. Both these players are 4-0. Had a sneaky laptop on the table that just running out of the way. But we have Lucci. Tyson is one of the better black players that we've had. He's always consistently on black. He just loves that play style. So it's cool to see him going, you know what? Buggy's not scaring me. I'm sticking with it. Blackbeard's not scaring me. I'm sticking with my Lucci. And Nick, one of the great players that just keeps on playing whatever is in his eyes the best deck, and at the moment that must be green, purple, Luffy.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you're a Lucci player, if you do dodge the buggy, you can have a successful run. You do have a lot of good matchups into a lot of these top decks. A lot of them are a bit close, but that's just by definition of Lucci. You're never just going to win a game. You're going to have to grind all of it, but you always feel like you have some sort of control, which is the reason I love the deck as well. And then GP Luffy on that side, like personally, I think this deck has a higher ceiling than blue-purple Luffy. I think if you grind games and get good enough, I think you have more skill expression in green-purple Luffy and can push the deck further than, for say, if you just are grinding blue-purple instead. It is a very interesting matchup between the two. The early turns do come down to can Lucci find their pieces they need to be able to minus when the minusing cards like the Kuzan and the Laboon, and then on the green-purple Luffy side, it's like the field is the most important card. So when you play down that first Saji pudding, can I play enough fields to make this stick? So normally one is honestly not enough. If you can go either 2 or even maybe 3 fields, you just go, I'm drawing a card, doesn't matter. I don't need them. I need all of them this one turn. I'm going to make this Saji pudding at 11 cost. Good luck.
For sure, and we'll see how these players go. It looks like Tyson is going first. So that was the choice of Nicholas. And honestly, I think going second is good for the GP. But let's get right into this game.
Yep, so we do see there's not too much. We'll just have to see whether Nicholas got any of these searches. It does look like he has a couple options in hands and see which ones he does first.
For sure, one of the really cool things about GP Luffy is, as I mentioned before with the deck list we were looking at, there are so many searches in the deck. There's the 1-cost Nami, there's the 1-cost Event, there's the Zoro Juro. Overall, just so many consistency pieces that we have.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, as the Lucci, going first does kind of stifle your curve a little bit. You're more on like an aggressive removal curve, less on the minusing curve. So if you go second, you get a lot more of these on-curve Kuzans and Laboons, way to the minus. Whereas if you go first, you have more of this. You have less ability to minus things, but you have a very strong KO curve. So you get to go play things like Brook into potentially like Rebecca Hina, swimming with the Brook and poking into your leader. So it's definitely much more in an aggressive way if you go first. Generally like to play the deck. Whereas going second is more of a control-y way, I think.
Yeah, for sure. We see Tyson come down with the Chigi. One of the great ways to play Black Lucci into green-purple Luffy is just stack as many cards on the board that can minus your opponent's cards turn after turn. So you can set them up early because GP doesn't have too much removal. And we see the stage coming down here from Nick, which means he doesn't have the Zoro Juro. So it's a little bit rough, but could be better, could be worse. We see a 5k from Nami come down. Tyson taking the life. He's like, more options. I'm in love with this. See another 5k swing. We'll see the Absalom. That is not a card
that is
I
spicy.
expected to see. But honestly, I can kind of understand it. With Gecko Moria banned, Lucci does kind of lack cards that can KO stuff. And because you only have the 4 Luccis, you're not going to be able to do too much more after that, right? Like once you lose the 4 Luccis, if you don't have the Man Cherries, you don't really have too much. So having the Absalom, it's probably only like a 1 or 2 of, but it's just like extra Luccis, you know?
Yeah, correct. And it's retrievable off the Rebecca. It makes it like you can essentially always have access to all those in your drop, which is nice. And we do see the double swing come through, play Kuzan down, just draw a card and just go, okay, you took a slow turn. I'm in a great position to then just play these cards, which will help me in the future. So we'll have to see whether Nicholas has the Sanji putting them down. He definitely does have it in hand. And we'll have to see what else he does after he does play this card.
Yeah, for sure. One of the really strong things that GP Luffy can do is on this 6 Don turn, they pay 5 for the Sanji pudding, and then they use Leader's Effect. Now, using Leader Effect, they put 2 Don back. You know, it looks like I'm just saying exactly what Nick's doing. 2 Don back, get 1 back from the Sanji pudding, and then our leader gets a +1, and then we tap 4 Don, and we play the 4-cost Zoro Juro, which Nick might be looking to do. He's going to swing 6 at the Dashigi first. Tyson thinking on whether it's worth to counter it or not. He's like, nope, I'm fine to leave it. Using the stage, it looks like, to protect the Sanji pudding. So it is now a 7 cost. So Tyson can quite easily bring that down to a 2 cost with Kuzan plus Leader Effect. So it's whether Tyson has a way to reduce the Zoro Juro by 3 to be able to use Lucci to clear them both.
Yeah, 100%. It is. I do think that Nicholas Morlack would rather have just played more stages this turn, being able to increase that cost of that Sanji pudding. Because if the first one sticks and you play a second one the turn after, Lucci's in a really rough position. Like, it's just like the amount of momentum they start building with all these extra Don to be able to play more cards. You're kind of doing like a mini Gecko where you're flooding the board for like all this like extra energy that you shouldn't have. But we did see the Jack in Tyson's hand, so I can imagine that he'll be just minusing that, putting down to a 2 cost, and then he'll just be doing the Jack effect, just removing that, saying, okay, show me another one. I've got these 2 bodies. Being a 4 life is very nice, actually. You definitely want to take the first couple hits if possible, if your hand's not too bad, because that just gives you the ability to go, okay, I have more options to then protect my battle cards, which are definitely the more important piece of the puzzle right now.
For sure, and looking at Nick's hand, it's a little bit rough not having another Sanji pudding to come down this turn. Tyson still being on 4 life with a thick hand means he's got a decent chance of protecting this Jack or this Kuzan this turn, whichever one Nick wants to target down. And Nick kind of has to have a choice. Am I developing bodies this turn, or am I trying to remove his bodies so he doesn't just auto-clear all my bodies?
Yep.
And I guess that's the predicament that Lucci puts GP in. It's like, if I see a couple of these pieces early, I want to play cards that force you to remove them. If not, you lose your board.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. We do see the Gamma Knife in Nicholas' hand, so it is a pay 2 -1 Don, minus the power of a card by 5,000 power. Effectively saying, I can swing into anything and clear it. Not having the Sanji put on the field does mean that you do just effectively lose the Don, and it is a little bit of a slower turn, but I think just doing this to the Jack, just saying the Jack is gone, and then when afterwards, you can kind of just put the rest of the Don into this Kuzan and go, okay, we're both resetting the board. Tyson now needs to produce more threats. Otherwise, it will then just gradually swim back into Nicholas's favor.
Yeah, for sure. The rough thing for Nick, though, is if he wants to use Leader Effect, that's another 2 Don gone, which means he's actually lost Don on this turn.
Yes.
One thing that GP Luffy really wants to do is it wants to very much minimize the amount of Don it loses each and every turn. And without those Sanji puddings, it's really hard to do. And because Nick had to use the Gamma Knife, because this Jack is a problem card, there's not much choice he had. So he had to lose Don. Using Leader Effect is going to be rough if he does. See the 6k into the Jack, it's dead. Now, Kuzan versus Luffy Leader, we'll see how much cards out of Tyson's hand Nick wants to go. But he still has to develop another body. Otherwise, that Zoro Juro is gone.
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
not helpful for Nick.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was a very heads-up play that Tyson defended the first 3k swing into that Jack, saying, effectively, by defending this for 1k, it is 1 less attack you're now doing into my Kuzan, and my Kuzan's more likely to live. So I gave up 1k for this. It looks like, oh, it's going to die anyway. What's the point of that? But it's effectively just saying, I'm guarding my Kuzan for 1k instead of a 2 or a 3k that I might need to give if I let this die and you have 2 swings into this Kuzan instead. So I think it's very smart planning of the turn. I know you want to remove both, and to do that, you need to be able to give me some... You need to be able to use your Don, essentially. But yeah, going down to 4 Don for Nicholas here it's gonna be very rough. I think it's gonna potentially set him back a little bit of tempo, but we do see that he was able to remove the Kuzan, so I think he's in a decent spot as well.
For sure, but only going to 6 Don next turn can be a little bit rough when Tyson is sitting at 9 Don right now. So the Don is 9 to 4, which is kind of crazy thing about, and Tyson's still at 4 life. So he's got a lot of options behind him. One of them is that Man Cherry maybe can get back the Jack, play it down again, kill the Zorojuro. Maybe he wants to go for a Lucci line with the Rebecca. Get some other cost reduction in that way. He also has the Shirahoshi blocker with Lucci. That's another line. So this is a crazy thing about Lucci. It's so many combo pieces, but it's not like a 2-card combo, right? You have 5 different 2-card combos that can all intertwine with each other. And so you just have so many choices to make, which is one of the hardest decks to play and has historically been that.
Yeah, 100%. We do see Tyson eyeing off the 4-cost Shirahoshi. Card that was introduced a little bit during BY Luffy's domination era. It's a 4-cost blocker, 1k, but on play you get to minus something's cost by 4. So essentially you were saying, I'm going to Rebecca Hina you, but I don't need a Hina on the drop to be able to do this. So you kind of like pseudo increasing your copies of Rebecca Hina by just playing this card. So it is very nice in spots like this where it's like I just see kind of spot minusing, but I also want to have a bit of defense behind that as well.
For sure. Tyson thinking how much Don he wants to swing. He's just going to go 5 into the Nami, cost reducing. I'm assuming the Zoro or something like that, or he's just like, it doesn't matter, I'm removing the board anyway. Play the Shirahoshi, reduce Zorojuro, pay 4 for the Rob Lucci to KO the Zorojuro. We've got a bot deck 3 cards to do this. Interesting, he left the Don up. I'm very curious what he's going to do with this one Don. I think he has a Mancherry in hand, so maybe he just wants to play the Mancherry and the next turn be able to use its effect for 1. But one of the really refreshing things is if we go back 3 months, this turn would have been Tyson plays Gecko.
100%. Yeah, definitely. I think not understanding your opponent doesn't run removal, or if it does, it's very rare. You're relatively safe to just go, I'm going to play Mancherry. You can't really do much about this. I'm just now going to next turn, pay 1, get back any card I like, and like you get into this cycle when you're versing the Lucci and have a Mancherry, and I'm like, okay, well, I only have 2 swings. Am I removing Mancherry, or am I putting these attacks into your leader to try and actively get you closer to win the game? It's a very weird position to be in.
For sure, and it looks like Nicholas is very much actively playing that Nami. Wants to have a body to swing into Mancherry. We got the Sanji putting back down, which is good. We'll see the Don -2 come down, restand to get another Don inactive. The crazy thing about Lucci, though, is it kills the 1 cost for free, right? So this he needs to play a second Nami, or it didn't really matter, right? Getting that 1 extra body is kind of pointless unless Tyson has a way to clear both the Sanji and the Zoro. That seems a little rough with what his current board state is, because he needs at least 4 for the Lucci, probably 4 for a Laboon to reduce the Sanji pudding, and then 2 Don. I don't think if there's a 2 Don that can -3. Well, I mean, there is. There's the 1-legged soldier, which is in Tyson's hand, but I don't think he has all the pieces. I think he needs 1 Don for his leader effect. For his Mancherry effect to get the Laboon back. But we'll see. Tyson's a better player than me at Lucci, so I'm keen to see which route he goes for.
Always hard to predict what a Lucci player does when you look at the hand and they have about 6 different options they can go through. You're like, I think this is what I would do, but I don't even know. And then you just kind of sit there and you just theory craft a bunch of different lines. And I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of the deck for me. We do see the 6k swing come into the Zorojuro. Just going, okay, I want to understand kind of like what your hand is like and how, whether you're giving me 1Ks or 2Ks, and we do see that 2K come down. Holding on to the searches and going, I need to filter into my deck more. I don't really mind about these blockers or these 2Ks. I'd rather just keep the searcher for next turn and just start building this wide board that Lucci can struggle to deal with.
For sure, swinging 5 at life, that doesn't do anything, but Tyson just looking for the -1 on the leader. And then thinking what he wants to do, he's eyeing off that Toy Soldier. So maybe he has the full combo. Well, Toy Soldier to reduce this, so it's a 4 cost, and it looks like we're just slamming Jack. We just want Slam Jack. We're happy to remove just 1 card. It's a big card. We will KO this Sanji Pudding. We have a Cycle 1, and that 10 cost Kuzan he drew is very massive. Use our last on for this Mancherry. Unfortunately, Mancherry does not remove Frankie from the board, but make it a little bit stronger. Bottom deck 2 cards. It looks like we'll see the Jack and the Mancherry get bottom decked. I'm very interested to see what he grabs back, whether it's a Laboon for cost reduction, whether he grabs back a Rebecca just for more options next turn, whether he just grabs back a 2K because that's what he needs. 4 cards in hand. It's kind of rough. It's kind of rough. And the fact that at any point, Nicholas can just say, you know what, I need to try go for game. Gear 2 secret rare.
Yep.
swing is scary. So Tyson always has to be wary of that. And just the amount of cards in Nicholas' hand is absolutely crazy. Like, Tyson every turn has been like, oh, got to remove your board, got to remove your board. And Nicholas is like, all right, my board's gone. Anyway, I'm going to play it again, draw back up and not lose cards in hand because Tyson hasn't been able to develop a Don onto his leader to swing effectively.
Yeah, so we do see the Nami player, Nami Searcher come back down. Just trying to refill his hand, probably looking for that Sarji pudding. We do see, was that 2? That is the last 2, so he will be bottom decking 1. So knowing he doesn't have access to that last Sanji pudding in his deck will be an interesting thing for Nicholas to play through later on if it does get to that point. Having 7, 6, 7, I can't count, 7 Don up, we'll just go for Luffy Taro Sanji pudding. Pretty strong play. You get a lot of value out of these cards. You can then minus the 1. The pudding will get the 1 back active. And then potentially be able to use leader effect as well to then restand 2 more.
For sure. So we got to wait till we use the leader effect to get the 1 back from Sanji pudding because you have to remove 2 or more Don.
That is true, yes. Thank you for correcting me.
So it looks like Nick's at final. It's crazy just how little Don he's playing with, but he's like, it's fine. I don't need Don. I untap like a 3 Don a turn, right? So I'm essentially still playing on 10 Don. I'm just playing on 7 plus 3 Don instead of 10 Don.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely more of a poke strategy than like an all-in strategy because your Don total is less to work with, but you can always just spit out a board and then just go poke.
Yeah, very similar to what we saw with a red-green Smoker. However, we have cards in hand, unlike red-green Smoker, which is cool. See the Frankie swing, and because Nick has less Don than Tyson, he gets a Don back in rested. So helps offset the Don minuses that we see. And Lucci staring down a footboard is kind of scary. I'm not sure. I don't think Tyson is too pleased to be in the spot he is, but maybe he is hoping that that 1/10 cost in hand will be enough to get him back into this game.
It will effectively remove 2 things with that Jack. It won't be, unfortunately, the Luffy Taro and the Sanji pudding. It'll be the Zoro Juro and probably the Sanji pudding, leaving the Luffy Taro. But if he doesn't need to use this blocker this turn, he can kind of just go down to 1 life safe-ish and go, okay, I've got a blocker. I now have Jack. I've poked you for 5 and 6. And it's like, what pressure can you put on? Definitely the secret will be pretty devastating for Tyson's side. I think Nicholas hasn't seen one yet. Potentially only a lot of this. Oh, he actually doesn't land. I lie. Lots of lists only run 2. I think now they've slimmed down the deck to try and make space for other tech. But I can definitely see that coming down next turn if Nicholas wants to push through for damage.
We'll see another Mary goes. Like, I want this Sanji pudding to live. Unfortunately, it still won't be enough. We will be able to just reduce it down to the perfect amount to be able to clear it with Jack. But what we saw there was we nearly saw a very rare black trigger. I'm kind of surprised Tyson didn't go for it to be able to kill the Frankie for free with that Tempest kick in life, KOing a 3 or less. Tyson just doing the math on what to do. He may consider going for a Tempest Kick double removal line. Now he has the second one in hand. Tempest Kick taking that Sanji pudding it down to 6, then down to 3. So it's now a 3 cost. Can remove it with the Jack, which looks like it's what's happening. Removing it with the Jack, KOing, and boom. There goes one of the cards. Now Tyson still has 4 more to worry about. The leader swing into the Frankie might deal with that, or maybe the Lucci swing into the Frankie, but the Frankie's probably going to go as well, and it's just whether we can get the Zoro Juro / the Luffy Taro down and out, but it will be hard. We can try with Shirahoshi plus Brook, can reduce and kill a 5 cost, but that's still just not enough. We really want to get rid of that 7 cost Luffy Taro, but I guess we'll settle for removing the Zoro Juro if that's all we can do.
Yeah, put it down to 6 kind of essentially when the minusing doesn't matter, you just go, yeah, sure, that's fine. We could definitely just see the Shirahoshi come down, minus the Zoro Juro down to 0. and then just go Rebecca, grab back a 2K, play out the Brook if it's still in hand, which it is, and then just go, okay, I'll swing 6 into Frankie. Your board is now a Nami plus a Luffy Taro. I have 3 blockers up, 1 life. Like, do something about it, essentially. Definitely, Nicholas can produce a lot of attacks and a lot of board very quickly. But it is definitely developing into a very interesting situation where it doesn't, what is correct isn't very obvious to, it's obvious, very obvious to us, but it's very interesting in game, like trying to figure out what is the correct sequence of things, or what am I actively trying to do?
Looks like we will see the Rebecca come down. I was wondering whether we would see the Rebecca come down or whether we will just see the Brook come down. I guess what Tyson's thinking is I'm probably going to play over either the Rebecca or the Shirahoshi because I don't think he can afford to lose the bodies, but maybe that's what he decides to go for. But he's just going, I'm happy to play this Rebecca down, get a 2K back, and then play over it. So I'm just swapping the Rebecca for a 2K.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's okay to just remove the Lucci here. You'd rather have the blockers out just because you do know that the Secret Rare can come through and swing a lot of times. You just want to be able to keep board as well as life if possible. And it's having 3 blockers just means like you can effectively keep everything alive. Any attack that goes into the Brook, you block. Any attack that goes elsewhere, you can choose between blocking and giving out counter. So I think this does give him the best shot of winning the game eventually. But it's a spicy situation. Like, both players are probably thinking, I don't know whether I'm winning this game. Look at Nicholas's hand. He now has double Secret Rare. I think you just play one for the turn. I'm not sure whether playing Uzuhachi into it is good enough. Maybe you just have to think, okay, I've just have to go for game at this point. But it's a very, very tight situation to be in.
Definitely. And Tyson's probably thinking, if my Brook can survive and my Jack can survive, and I just block with all these cards, and I can slam down my 10-cost Kuzan next turn, I might be in a really good spot because Brook can remove something, Jack can remove something, and the Kuzan can remove something. That's in total 3 bodies going down on Nicholas's side, which will be quite rough. Nicholas going for the search. He knows every time he Don minuses now, it's Don minus for good because that last Sanji pudding is at the bottom of his deck. So every time he uses leader ability, that's the 2 Don he's getting back at the start of the turn. But everything else, that's going for good. We're minusing that Don. We're going back down,
yes,
which is quite rough, especially if he wants to use his effect on the 6-cost Sanji, which is probably what he's thinking about. He's probably going, all right, do I want to take this life? Because I have the Giants, I'm probably not dying, but at the same time, if I Giant plus leader plus do the 6-cost, that's minus 6 Don, which is probably a little too much to do in one turn.
Yeah, we do see the Electric Lunar in hand, I think, though, that will effectively lock the board for a turn, and you go, okay, if you want to play anything next turn, you have to replace over something. I can just play my Secret Rare, play Electric Lunar, and just pass and go, okay, turn up, yeah, I minus 2 Don, I'll get it back, and then I can go for lethal the turn after, essentially.
The only problem with that is Jack's at 11 cost. Good old Jack being a 11 cost, not able to remove it with the Electric Luna. We do see the Uzuhachi come down to just swing into the Shirahoshi. Means we get another body for next turn, and I think we still have 6 Don or around 6 Don, so we can use leader to get a couple extra Don if we need to. Looks like we have exactly 6 Don, and we've got leader plus Luffy Taro plus Secret Rare. We're going to use leader effect, restand to Don, give 1K to our leader, and think.
Yeah.
It's a very tough spot for these players to be in.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see where these attacks do go into, whether they go into the Brook or into life. I think they're probably just getting blocked either way. You're definitely not counting out. Maybe into life you can argue you want to take it. Going down to 0 life is always scary, though. I would just imagine we do see the block coming through from either of the characters.
Yeah.
And then ask, okay, what's next?
For sure. I think the awkward thing is Tyson kind of needs to leave a blocker going into next turn, because if he doesn't, then it's quite rough if Nicholas has another 6 cost and Tyson has to tap out for his Kuzan.
Yeah, definitely. You can defend this here with the 2 on the one hand. Having 1 card left in the hand, you do have to block, though. You can remove full board, though, with the Kuzan that is in hand, but 1 card in hand, 1 life, no blockers. If he just has second secret hand in secret Luffy in hand, it's kind of just over at that point. You can mathematically just win the game at that point.
For sure. Nicholas definitely doing a great job at applying the right amount of pressure so that Tyson never has a chance to slam that 10-cost Kuzan. Not seeing it exactly on curve was kind of it. Tyson's trying to find a place to be able to play it. He's trying to set up blockers and then defend enough for a turn so he can play it in a following turn, but it just hasn't been enough. We see a 6K swing into the brook. Very smart here from Nicholas going, all right, I know I'm not killing you, right? You have a blocker, right? 6 is not enough. That's a 2K. I want more than 1 card out of your 4-card hand. If you want to save this, I want 2 cards, or I want that blocker.
Yeah, 100%. Very heads-up play to effectively, like you said, get more cards out of hand, diminish that, and then go, okay, if you're playing this for this 10-cost Kuzan, then all you can do is do that. You don't get to remove my full board without the Brook. It's a very tough situation. We do see the block come through. I could see a world where Tyson just goes, I have to go for game now. I don't know if I can survive. Kuzan's definitely not the correct play anymore. He does have the Rebecca in hand. There are probably lines where you can remove enough of the board with the Rebecca and just go, maybe this is enough with 1 blocker. It's going to be very tough, especially now that the Secret Rare is an 8 cost. The breakpoints are very tough in Lucci sometimes. You only just scrape by to most of them at most points in the game, especially without having that Tempest Kick in hand to bail you out.
For sure, and we don't see anything like the Hina in the discard, which isn't too helpful. And yeah, obviously, no blockers, can't slam 10 costs because we just stand face after that point. And having such a few amount of cards in hand, I think with 1 blocker coming down, Nicholas can just kind of go, all right, I'm just play another Rush Luffy and swing with it big, and that's kind of the game over. But we'll see some swings come down here for Tyson. What's impressive for me is how Nicholas has managed his board and his hand. He's been on 2 life since like 6 of Tyson's done, right? Which is crazy to say. And he still has 5 cards in hand, right? That's every turn that Tyson has played and removed Nicholas' board. But Nicholas replace it with cards that draw, with cards that search, and able to keep a high hand size. Now it looks like we're seeing a 7K swing somewhere. It looks like it was in 2 liter. We see the 2K coming down. The Uso Hachi, because plus 1K, strong.
Yep, yeah, for sure. Being a 6K base, especially against these kind of older decks which don't have the ability to get the power pump and the kind of like, I don't want to say a fair game, but they're already slowly starting to be able to struggle with these like higher base cards. Like Lucci is still the premium removal deck, but you've got to win the game at some point. And the old strategy just going 5-5-5 poke is just, it doesn't really work against a lot of these new decks anymore. You have to truly win board and then win game as Lucci. And we just see Tyson has struggled to do that. Every time he's gotten a slight advantage, it's just been slowly chipped back away again by Nicholas.
For sure, and it looks like Tyson is going to play Rebecca to get another blocker, Shirahoshi, to then reduce the Luffy down to, that'll be a 3 cost, which is perfect for Jack. Jack will then draw 1. We'll probably finally see the discard of that 10 cost Kuzan. I mean, we will, but there's the wrong one. And we're going to see the swing of the Brook probably into the Abyss, because it doesn't matter where it's swinging, that Nami is just dead. Yeah. We need to get rid of that Nami. It's just an extra swing. We'll swing and just pop it.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely think the poke of that Nami is very relevant over the potential of my Brook being removed. I think that Tyson's more about losing the game than losing the Brook at this point, and a swing with 5 from Nami is super relevant when you have 2 blockers up. It's just, at a certain point, its number of attacks is more important than the size of the attacks, especially when life is at 0 and hand size is low.
For sure, but I think Nicholas does have the math on his side. 8 kind of needs to be blocked because that's 2 cards out of hand. Then you play the Rush Luffy 7-7. One of those is blocked, one of those is countered. Tyson doesn't have enough cards left in hand to then defend leader plus Uso Hachi.
Yes. Yeah, no, I definitely think that Nicholas will take this. It's just going through the motions and making sure that you do everything correctly. Even there are some times you don't want to rush through it. You want to go, okay, I win. Let me just make sure I do it correctly so I don't stumble the last step.
For sure. And this has been a very impressive game because I would not call Nicholas's draws optimal.
No.
They weren't a high roll draw. They were quite underwhelming. He put his time in. He found his searches. He slowly removed Tyson's board by swinging back into it. Put as much pressure on while not dwindling his hand size. Remained a 6K leader. Went low on Dom because he knew he was able to get back up to it late game. He just couldn't lose too many cards in hand. Very methodical, very thoughtful. Each and every step was meticulously thought out, and he's had these Gum Giants in hand for ages, and he's like, if I need them, I've got them. So he also knows that he has that defense kind of going into the late game, but he just didn't use it. We see the block come down with the Shirahoshi. The 6-cost Luffy comes down. We will untap our Dom with leader. Attach 1 to the Luffy, go 8 at lead, Don -2. That's 2Ks come down. Restand our Luffy, probably throw another 8. Yep, that's going to be a block, and then we're going to see, I think it's an 8K swing and hope that's it.
And
that's
GG.
Perfect enough. Tyson was close, just unable to get there. If he had 2Ks in hand at the end, he was able to make it through to the end, but that was a performance from Nicholas. I will have to say, very, very thoughtful, you know. I remember I played against Alucci on one of the online events as GP, and I just kind of fumbled. My hand got small. They kept slamming cards. My body got removed, and I was nowhere near as playing as well as Nicholas.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was one of these like fun matchups where it actually does come down to who can play better. Like sure, if someone high rolls, the other one doesn't, but yeah, definitely a fun one.
All right, let's bring it back to the booth while we talk about some other decks we might be able to see.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I just love Lucci. Lucci's like so much fun to watch for me personally. The decision making is always there, and it's you just always have a chance. Like that game came down to 1K counter. It looked so dire at some points for both players, and then it came down. Is your last 2 cards in hand or two 2Ks? No, okay, I win. If what he drew off the Jack was a 2K, he might have gone there. He had to draw and discard, which always feels so bad. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was a rough spot. But let's get some deck lists that we are to see, and this is a green-yellow Yamato list that was able to top one of the events over in America, featuring a bunch of really cool new cards. So let's go over it. To start off with, we have the 1-cost Yamato Searcher. So that is a top 5 Searcher for Land of Wano, and it has 0 power, which in an aggro deck you might think's pretty weak, but it has a really cool effect. Don ×2. So you got 2 Don attached, it gets plus 3K. So using Yamato's leader effect to attach 2 rested Don to one of your characters, this Searcher is now a 5K swing, which is insane. That is really, really good statted card. We love it. Onami always has been amazing in this deck. Give your double attack leader banish. That's crazy. But we now also have Izzo, which is the same as Nami, except if you have 2 Don attached, you also gain a blocker on the Izzo. So having 8 cards that give your leader banish is crazy, but then also able to use it for a defensive angle. Absolutely crazy. The other new cards we got was the Ashura Doji, which says if your opponent has 3 or more life, so opposite to all the other Yamato cards that want your opponent to have 3 or less life, you're able to KO a 5 or less. 5 has been the huge. 5 has been the premier number for such a long time. Of if you KO a 5 or less, you're in a really good spot. So Azure Doll, really good early game, just being able to remove your opponent's tempo plays and punishing them for carrying out of your 5K double attack swing, which they want to counter out of, but you could just, either way it's a punish, right? You take 2 off of 5K, that's rough, or be able to KO 5 cost, crazy. Kikinojo, we already know what that does. The Kinemon's really cool. It's just a 2K, but if your opponent has 3 or less life, trigger play it. We like a trigger play cards, as well as the new Rush Momonosuke. This card is one of the better cards that the deck got. Your turn, your leader gets plus 1K. We like that. That's a symbol you play, your leader gets plus 1K. But then if you're able to return 2 of your currently attached Don to your Don area, Momonosuke gets plus 1K and Rush. So it becomes a 6 for 8 Rusher, which is really cool. Green-yellow Yamato, really underrated. Be cool to be able to see one in action over the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that's about time. We're about to head into the next round soon, so I think we'll just cut off there with this one deck list, and we'll see you guys soon for the next round.